What you see now is a live picture at the spillway at Denison Dam. The wave action is pushing the water across the top of the spillway. That hasn't happened since 1957. The Corps says it'll go up over the spillway by at least 1 foot. This is Lauren Farr reporting live at Denison Dam. A lot of sightseers here. The Army Corps of Engineers is asking everybody to stay home. The weather here is miserable.
12 News interrupted programming at 8:20 p.m. Wednesday, May 2nd. Floodwaters began trickling over the emergency spillway at Denison Dam. The Army Corps of Engineers had been watching Lake Texoma rise for days. They knew with the lake level at 640 feet above sea level, 23 feet above normal, the water would eventually roar over the spillway barrier.
There is about 100 people kind of sandwiched in here along the fence watching the spillway go over. Once again, don't come out here. The Corps of Engineers is concerned for your safety. Don't come out here. We'll give you some pictures here. And they said, you know, in a day or so, it's all right to come out, but for right now, don't. Just a few minutes ago, the police had to go out on the spillway. Somebody could be killed here tonight.
Well, it is a spectacle, but and we are expected to go another foot higher before we crest, and that was before we had some heavy rains later this evening. So we haven't had we don't have a current projection.
By daybreak, the lake level was pushing the 641 mark, easily surpassing the Corps' original projection. The water over the spillway no longer a trickle, but a cascade. By now, the news had spread, and thousands flocked to the overlook to watch fish struggle in the current as they went over the spillway. Meanwhile, the Corps issued a warning to parents.
Please keep your eye on your kids. I've seen little kids, 3 and 4 years old, running around loose out here, and that's not good because they can fall off the water and be gone before you know it.
But the danger was not just at the spillway. On Lake Texoma, marinas and homes were sitting under more than 20 feet of water. And miles upstream in southern Oklahoma, rivers and creeks backed up and overflowed their banks, engulfing entire neighborhoods. Texomans were forced out of their homes.
Looking for a new car or truck? Now is the time to buy during Toyota's on 90 at Grayson Motors in Sherman, and you don't have to be a first-time car buyer to get in on the great deals. How about this Pontiac Grand Am for only $9,995? Or this Buick Saver with factory rebates up to $1,250? Or this GMC truck with short wheelbase and lots of extras, only $9,995 after factory rebate. The time is now, and Grayson Motors is the place. So hurry to Grayson Motors, where you always get good old-fashioned sales and service.
With a bonnet on her head, 95-year-old Jessie Hamilton was evacuated from her Tishomingo home.
I live right on the creek bank, and it is up a little bit. I mean, it's pretty full, but it came all of a sudden, just come right on up right in a hurry.
On the banks of the raging Washita, the Pennington camp area was underwater. Stop signs warned of the water's depth. Dean Robinson's home was waist deep in water.
The whole inside of the house is gone. There's sheetrock walls and floors, carpets, still some appliances in there.
Tina Trammell was one of the lucky ones.
We're up on the hill. We're the only one that's got a high elevation around here.
That's good.
But they've turned all the electricity and the gas off and everything around here. So we're all without gas and electricity.
Making the best of a bad situation, Tina's daughter goes fishing in a neighbor's yard. Larger, more expensive brick homes on Lake Texoma, dream homes for some families, were also waterlogged.
We tried to put up everything we could, block it up, get it up out of the way so it wouldn't run. And we stayed in the house till 2:30 this morning, and it was running so bad and the water was rising so much we had to get out. We've lost everything we've got, and something that we wanted to retire in, and now it's gone.
All along the Texoma shoreline, scores of homes were cut off or underwater. Rooftops of restaurants dotted the surface. At Lowe's Highport, only the steeple was above water at Pompano's restaurant. C.D. Lowe said last year's flooding was minor compared to this, and even then, many jobs were lost.
Prior to the flood last year of '89, we had 183 checks written on the payroll. The following week, we had to lay off 100 young people. Our payroll was then 83 checks. So yes, it's devastating.
A boat tour of Texoma State Park with the Oklahoma Lake Patrol took us places a boat can't normally go, like this picnic area. And it was hard to imagine any campers disobeying this sign. But not to be discouraged, business owners simply adapted to swamp-like conditions.
We relocated our office to a vacant mobile home up the road, and we've got our office set up in there, and then our parts room, all the renewal parts and merchandise we put into a moving van that we've taken up the road, and we can run the parts business out of that.
The Willis Creek Marina owner was determined to keep his houseboats running despite the high water. At Cedar Mills Marina, workers fought round the clock to save the docks from washing away.
What's your work schedule been like?
All the hours we can get. 24 hours a day so far.
It was only fitting that a submerged sign pointed the way to the submerged Pelican's Landing restaurant. Waters also engulfed the boat shop. On the docks at Catfish Bay Marina, workers spent hours pulling in the anchors and moving the docks closer to shore, working against time and the rising waters to save hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of boats.
Well, they're not prepared for really anything. I'm not sure over 635. When it gets up over that, it can start breaking away the docks and damaging the boat houses and stuff like that.
Swollen rivers threatened other structures we all depend on. Workers watched and waited as a log jam put thousands of pounds of pressure on the Ouachita Bridge, while nearby residents could only worry. They said they'd never seen anything like this before.
It's the worst I've seen it coming in here. 87, it got up a little bit higher, but it wasn't near as rapid.
Ain't nothing you can do about it. Sit back and watch it.
But the Denison Dam was really feeling the water pressure. It was being tested like never before as the water continued to rise. By Friday morning, the water was more than 25 feet above normal. Rumors began circulating, questioning the dam's strength. Spectators became concerned when they saw the Corps reinforcing the dam with rocks along the Lake Texoma side. But the Corps assured everyone the Denison Dam was holding up beautifully. The Corps checked for leaks in and under the dam daily.
Every dam I have been associated with has seepage groundwater. We monitor that through piezometer tubes, and I won't go into detail, but it measures the uplift pressure underneath the dam, and that's just a part of our monitoring program. It's designed into the embankment.
When the dam was built in the 30s and 40s, Les Nix cleared trees from the reservoir. He says the dam is here to stay.
They use clay on the upstream side. They use sheep foot rollers and steel rollers for compaction, and the downstream side is sand.
But with the water pouring into the Lake Texoma pool 4 times faster than it was going out, the Corps of Engineers realized by Friday night they had to make a tough call.
Anytime the water reaches a elevation of 643, of course it's going over the spillway at that time with uncontrolled spill, but we need to get the water out of the lake as quickly as possible to try to prevent any further buildup of water in case we do get another big sail that comes through like the 2 have been in the past.
The floodgates were opened, and the amount of flood water rushing downstream doubled overnight. The Corps of Engineers said they knew flooding downstream would be bad, but they had to make that tough decision. The The lakes and dams created by the Army Corps of Engineers are designed for flood control, not prevention. The problem at the end of the first week in May, 4 times as much water was draining into Lake Texoma than was being discharged. On Friday, May 4th, the Corps decided to release an unprecedented amount of water from Denison Dam to ease the situation upstream. The plan called for 110,000 cubic feet per second to be released by Saturday morning. But the figure had to be increased to 140,000 cubic feet per second being released through the dam and over the spillway. The Texas side of Highway 75A was barricaded and washed out in the first hours. Downriver, farmers and ranchers hit by heavy rains earlier in the week faced more rising waters.
I was carrying stuff out of the shop, and it was boot top deep on the first arm load. The second arm load, it was knee deep, and you know, it just finally got so deep you couldn't go back. You just had to quit.
57, it was all probably half as much water over this land here as there is now.
I'd say it's 3 or 4 feet higher than it was in 57 now. It's the highest I've ever seen it.
Pete Clark of Liberty, Oklahoma, has farmed along the Red River for decades. His alfalfa crop was wiped out in the 1957 flood. He says this time it's worse.
It'll have to be resown and sowed next year before I can get any income out of it. It'll just be a total loss this year.
How much money are you going to lose?
Oh, probably $15,000, something like that.
Most people don't have that to make up.
Well, I don't either, but I'll have to.
Meanwhile, he'll have to buy feed for his cattle to make it through the summer. Younger farmers didn't think anything like this could happen.
Land next to the river that we farm, it's you know, it's getting overwatered, and it's part of it. You know, we're afraid it'll, with the water moving, that it'll, you know, cut off, you know, cut the land away, you know, with the river. That's about our only concern. If it comes up anymore, we ain't got no place really to put our cattle. It's just, I don't know.
Some of the older hands along the Red River, like Shorty Stone, wondered if the river would move their land to Texas.
Well, I might be in Texas then.
What do you think about that?
I guess it'll be all right.
The flood of the century was carving a new channel. Erosion was seen everywhere.
We have a big, huge tree rolling down the river, touching bottom. I thought that was Jaws. It come up when I first seen it about a half a mile back the river. It just exploded the water when it started hitting that sandbar.
Pipelines were exposed and oil spilled. The biggest problem was at the Carpenter's Bluff Bridge. People there complained to authorities of a gasoline-like smell.
All over the top of the water, it looked like black crude oil. And that's about it. It was just covered about half the river up there all the way down to the bridge.
While oil slicks drifted for miles downstream, surprisingly, the rushing floodwaters helped to break them apart.
The turbulence of the river could possibly dissipate the oil. And a lot of times the oil will stick on sand particles or silt particles and take it to the bottom.
In Bryan County, Chad and Amy Andrews' home became an island. The river was 2 miles wide here. The Wilson place south of Bennington looked like lakefront property. How far are we from the Red River when it's in its banks?
Well, at the closest point, it's at least a mile, and it's further than a mile on part of the property.
Hundreds of head of cattle were lost on both sides of the river.
It's going to take a long time to really realize how much loss there is. There's not going to be a road where there used to be a road. There's not going to be a bridge where there's been a bridge. And the fences, there's not even going to be anything to salvage out of a lot of fences.
One person was killed trying to ride a horse out of the floodwaters.
My depth meter on my LCR right here is showing the water is 24 foot deep.
Where the muddy boggy meets the red, the river was 4 miles wide. The bridge linking Hugo and Paris was barricaded for days. The road leading up to the bridge was under a lot of water, and the rail line that runs alongside was washed out. The official crest at Lake Texoma came May 6th. It was 644.76 feet. Throughout the weekend and the next week, back at the dam and spillway, waters roared. A giant whirlpool was created at the intake structure as water was fed through the dam itself. The power and destructive force drew sightseers like few events ever have in our part of the country. This is what they came to see. What a sight. It seemed like everyone came to the dam and the spillway for a different reason.
And we were here 33 years ago whenever we were in high school going together. So we're going to be here again tonight.
Now, I was told that 33 years ago, when the spillway went over, you guys kissed.
Right. That's right.
Right.
We sure did.
Must have been a heck of a kiss.
Sure was. Lasted this long.
Have you kissed yet? The spillway's going over.
Not yet. We were going to wait a little bit longer. Do you want us to now?
Yeah. What the heck? But Shirley and Robert Webb weren't the only ones reminiscing about the flood of 1957. One man had a 33-year-old newspaper dated June 6th, the first time the spillway went over. The raging Red River has
inflicted $25 million worth of property damage. Havoc in 3 states. It happened on Wednesday as thunderstorm continued to boom.
Whatever the reason, spectators came by the thousands. Traffic backed up for miles as they came south from Oklahoma to see the spillway.
We came here, we heard like the dam is overflooded, and it's nice to come and see.
We sort of got caught in the traffic. And you're not supposed to be here? No, all I'm trying to do is find a way back to Texas. Am I in Texas yet?
That traffic was a welcome sight to some Lake Texoma vendors who thought their tourist season was shot. They had come up with a new way to make money, selling souvenirs about the historic event.
To see if we can make some money after business has been so slow because of the floods. Normally we do this for the marinas and stores and stuff around the lake. How's business been? It's been real good now since we went over the spillway. I like it.
Along Highway 69, T-shirts and hats were printed with sayings like "Roll on Texoma" and "Over the Top 1990." Merchants said they sold thousands in just a couple of days. Everyone, it seemed, wanted a memento.
It'll probably be another 33 years before it does it again. It goes over the top.
Many people recorded the moment on videotape, but one Texoma woman took home an original, capturing her own lasting impression with canvas, oil paints, and a brush.
Primary motivation for being out here is to paint because that's what I do. I paint. Now I'm painting this today because it might not be here tomorrow. I'm doing the fun part. Getting all the little details in. All the cute little bits and pieces of color and shape and texture. You can't even do this working from a photograph because the world changes as you paint, and it's a day to enjoy what you're doing. It'll never be like this again. This can only happen in Texas. Or maybe Oklahoma.
Each year, more than 6.5 million people visit Lake Texoma. This California family thought they'd include the lake in their travels. They hadn't heard news reports. Their vacation was washed out, and they weren't too interested in the historic event.
We decided to come down through Route 70 here, and stop here at the lake and stay about maybe 3 or 4 days or a week. And evidently, it may not be possible.
In fact, back in 1957, they didn't think any of this was possible. After the first time the water went over the spillway, this pamphlet came out. Now, ironically titled "Once in 100 Years," because on May 2nd, Mother Nature struck Texoma again. There was a new benchmark for the flood of the century.
rough weather? Rough weather forecasters. Dale Jones and Tom Miller, only on 12 News.
Tracker has unleashed the new legend in high-performance bass boats, the Nitro, and it's on sale exclusively in Texoma land at
North Texas Marine.
The Tracker Nitro fiberglass is hotter and quicker, and you can choose from 5 different models, from the Pro Tournament bass rigs to the Nitro ski and fish rig.
North Texas Marine.
There's no better bass rig than Tracker. It was designed for fishermen by fishermen, and for a limited time, it's on sale exclusively at
North Texas Marine.
on Highway 82 in Gainesville.